Good evening. Welcome to the January meeting of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. My name is Jim Cloutier. We are meeting tonight at the Peter Feeney Conference Room in the Cumberland County Courthouse. And we would first invite anyone who would wish to join us as we pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of December 12th.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Before we pursue the balance of our agenda, there was a comic who once created quite a routine out of claiming that the best position in any organization is past president. And we have a past president now, or a past chairman, who has completed actually recently a year of distinguished service, Commissioner Neil Jameson. We have a plaque that acknowledges and remembers that experience, and we're pleased to present that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
job. Hoping his speech is less than half an hour.
No, I just want to thank everyone on the board. We had a very busy year, a year with a lot of trying issues, and but in a collaborative way, as we have through the years. We did, I think, as well as any board could under the circumstances, and it's because of the support we have for each other, and excellent executive and admin staff. So look forward to another great year under Chairman Cloutier, and look to fill my role in the back seats for the year. Thank you all.
Thank you. It's a good year in a lot of ways. We're ready for a consent agenda. If we could have a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved on the consent agenda.
Second. And perhaps, Barbara, you could read the title for us of the item on the agenda.
Approval of the Sheriff's Office commissions for December 2018 and January 2019.
Any discussion on this item? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next item is 19002, the committee appointments that we make each year. We have previously circulated a schedule of possible responsibilities, and be glad the floor is open to discuss that or make a motion related to it.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the committee assignments as proposed.
I'll second.
Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, I have a question. Could anybody explain to me what the liaison for the chief local elected officials is?
Who serves on that?
Well, when I saw that, I thought, what kind of trouble am I getting myself into?
Well, you've been in it for a couple of years.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
What is it?
I don't know.
Do you happen to know, yeah, we'll have to, there are quite a few committees, and we'll have to figure out what that one is.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Move passage.
Apparently didn't meet.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We just have a small amendment to the non-union personnel policy. Mr. Gailey?
Thank you. This item was first introduced to the commissioners back at the December 10th meeting, in which we held a workshop on the amendments. It is a rather large document, and just to give you some comparisons, the current personnel policy that has governed the county is a total of 13 pages long. The proposed personnel policy that's before you is a total of 77 pages long. So you can see there is quite a difference of, granted, the 13 pages that I'm holding up is front and back, but even if you double-sided this, it would be a very large document. And we had a number of hopes in undertaking this project. First and foremost, for at least a few years that I've been on board, I felt as though we were almost duplicating an effort in what we had lived under in terms of a personnel policy and a set of administrative regulations. We've had 37, 38 administrative regulations, of which many of them should be in a personnel policy. They are personnel policy derived. They outline certain things that should be in a personnel policy. So one of the items that we did was start stripping away some of those admin regs and put those in a personnel policy. No easy task, but one that we were able to do. And those changes within the document before you are in green. And I did a color code just so that you would know what is existing. So we had green language, which was admin regs. We had black font, which was existing personnel policy language. And then, as always, anytime you doctor up a document, you have red underline for new changes. And so our intent was to incorporate some of the admin regs into the personnel policy, and really, we went from 36 admin regs down to 15. We now have 15, if all goes well this evening, I should say. We will have 15 admin regs, which we will then create a separate document, a single document that looks like this, that Travis put together and very nicely done, that will be our admin regs all in one document versus 15 separate documents as it would be today. So we would actually have a personnel policy, one document, and admin regs, one document. I feel streamlining and bringing everything together for ease of use for not only admin, but also any employee in county government. So some of the changes that we proposed in this document, just running down through a number of bullets I have, I won't go into depth in any one of them, but we added definitions to reflect current practices. Definitions include paid status, unpaid status, and work week. We added language to employment, the employment section, and that language was required under one of the federal grants that we have been recently working on with Fay Lupi. We better define the types of employment classifications in county government. We now have employment classifications that include full-time, part-time, temporary, seasonal, on-call, and contract employees. We clarified hours worked and added a safe harbor policy within our language. We added civil rights obligations, which, again, were another federal grant requirement. We provided greater clarity to the various employee benefits, expanding on what we already had in our personnel policy for health insurance, COBRA, EAP, the Section 125 plan, and education assistance. We removed all language associated with compensatory time, or comp time, as many people call it, from our personnel policy. We better define types of leave, including strengthening the family medical leave and extended medical leave, which we feel now that language has been brought up to federal law standards. We reduced the employee seeking office time. As the commissioners are aware, this has been kind of a topic of conversation for probably the last 2.5, 3 years, as we've had 2 employees that get caught up into that. We reduced it from 30 days, as the language originally stated, down to 14 days prior to an election. We added language for attendance, punctuality, and absenteeism. We added language to drug-free workplace, which again was a federal grant requirement that we beefed that up. We added language concerning employee confidentiality, which every personnel policy should have, but ours was absent. Created language around employee code of conduct and work standards, two areas that we felt as though our personnel policy was deficient in. We addressed workplace romance, pets in the workplace, and incorporated a dress code. We amended the complaint /grievance procedure, taking the commissioners out of the process, as that has been an item that has been discussed by the commission over the last year, and the commissioners have always stated that the charter has changed and has directed the procedure towards me. We incorporated an infectious disease policy, and for the first time, we added a number of appendixes. Appendixes include a workplace violence appendix, a domestic violence appendix, a sexual harassment policy, a lactation break policy, safe harbor policy, inclement weather policy, and our social media use policy. These changes have all been vetted through our leadership team. Our leadership team is made up of not only department directors, but also mid-managers, like deputies and other higher-ranking managers within each department, and we have asked for their feedback. I want to extend a sincere thank you to a number of employees that had reviewed this document. It's not an easy document to read by any imagination. But employees did read that, and they offered terrific feedback to the document, and I feel even strengthened it, so that we feel as though we're presenting you a terrific document, moving the county forward, and a document that will be very useful to not only employees, administration in each department, and more importantly, the human resource staff. I just want to particularly thank Alex and Dawn for joining the ride with me, because this is something I dropped on them in October and said I want it done by the first of the year. And this was a very big lift, a heavy lift, and these two really reallocated some of their workload and helped me out in getting this document done. Is this going to be the last time that we change this document? Absolutely not. It's my hopes that we get through this, we reformat it, because as you can tell, it needs a lot of formatting and cleaning up. But it is a document that I feel that I should have before you again in 6 to 8 months, picking up a few other things that we need to do to this document to strengthen it. We need to really report back to you every year, if not every other year, on this document, making small tweaks and changes now that we have a good baseline for a personnel policy. So with that said, the three of us are here to answer any questions that the commissioners have, and thank you for your time in reading not only the original document I put in front of you, but the one that we amended along the way. It was a very heavy lift, and I know that reading it was not the easiest thing to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Alex or Dawn, do you have some introductory comments you'd like to share as well? Or
I would just like to reiterate what Jim has said. The policy before you, I feel, is current, compliant, lawful, takes into account both federal and state law, adds sections that were silent in the previous non-union personnel policy. I think it gives the employees know the guidelines, and it gives us good structure to consistently apply them. So I feel this is a very comprehensive, very strong document that we could be proud of.
And I think just from the perspective of sort of the boots of the ground folks in finance and HR and the other departments, this is extremely welcome. This is a definitive blueprint that we really haven't had for many, many years. And so it helps a ton. And There was a lot of late nights where Jim was clacking away on the keyboard, whipping this out, so great to see.
Great. We could use a motion regarding this item, and we'll have discussion.
I move that we adopt the amendments to the non-union personnel policy.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Comments about this? Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, one comment that I have is the policy that you changed the number of days that if somebody were running for office to 7. My only concern that I have there is that you run into the absentee ballot. And if somebody's in a supervisory position and they are going to apply pressure to somebody, they could do it that way. So just give it a thought, that's all.
And thank you for that comment. And we have changed that to 14 days. We went, and that was a recent change late last week, because I felt as though I was looking at it one way, and I talked to one of the department directors and said, maybe you should look at it this way too. And we talked it out, and we thought maybe splitting it between 30 was, taking it down from 30 might have been too much to 7, but to 14 would be more. But you're absolutely right. The absentee ballots came into it, because even with our 30-day leave, absentee ballots sometimes, depending upon the year and how the election day falls, absentee ballots can be released somewhere the 22nd, 25th of September. So you already have a week and a half of absentee voting already taking place, and this individual would still be in the workplace. Absentee ballots definitely have changed the landscape. But we felt as though, in fairness, we should do something. We've heard 2 employees have been caught up in this in the last 2.5 years, both raise. You guys should take a look at this. It's not going to help me, but in the future, and we've listened to them. And I think splitting it in half is only a fair thing to do.
Well, I'll say I think it's an excellent idea to have done this. The previous set of, whatever the best description of those would have been, was clearly, 20 years of bolt-on and kind of response to stimulus kinds of policymaking, and it was disorganized, probably less internally consistent than we all could hope, and vague beyond understanding in many ways. So this is much better. Clearly, we have enough lawyers on this board to know anytime you write 70 pages of policy, if you survive that event without being hospitalized, that's a pretty good effort. So congratulations to all of you, and
Thank you.
it really is a big deal. We know it. So,
Jim, question?
yes, Susan.
How am I going to word this? How you've done, an excellent job. I actually read it twice. I had 6 nights of good sleeping afterwards. My only question is, how will this be distributed? Will people be getting a hard copy, or is it going to be sent to their county, it's email, or how will this document be handed out?
Well, we have probably a good week or
Right.
more just formatting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when we feel comfortable that it's done, we will roll it out. It's my thought process that we send it out via email. But more importantly of sending out a document, it's really accompanying a cover letter to all the employees, really outlining what I kind of gave you as the
Yeah.
cliff notes in my intro on why we spearheaded this and what does it really entail. I think a lot of times, one would be nervous that this is a document that changes a whole lot of things, and it really doesn't. It's really
Right.
blending a lot of things and bringing the changes in it, though there are some that are new changes, much like the elective office item
Yeah.
going from 30 to 14. The majority of the changes are just beefing up our language to make it abide by state and
Yeah.
federal policies and laws. So we really did not do a lot of wholesale changes in this document that is going to impact county employees. But with that said, it will definitely have a cover letter outlining the intent and what the themes of the changes were, accompanying this document in an email. And then we will post it on the intranet for any employee to jump on at any time to refer to also.
We may have them read it and give them an exam.
Well, well, that's another concern. How will you know if they actually paid attention to the email? Because with what's gonna happen, something's gonna come up, and then they're gonna say, well, I didn't know that, well, I never got that. So would there be something in there that, how you received it, or you read it, or?
Well, we have done that in the past.
Right, okay.
And I've also said that we've also, and I say we've done that in the
Yeah.
past. Don and I did that in South Portland.
Right, yeah. You've gotta have some way, that they actually,
What we did was we took what we did in South Portland out to a printer. They printed X number of them, and employees signed off that they received
used
them.
it.
That's something we can do here. We have 400-plus employees.
Yeah, that's.
So it's a little bit bigger lift. And what we even found that employees, when we did it in South Portland, they would sign off on it, but they still wouldn't read it. And then it would be disappeared. So we spent all that money printing these
Right,
things up,
yeah.
and they would just be lost or discarded.
Mr.
All
Cowell?
set.
Not to suggest that you actually do this, but a company that I do legal consulting with has a lot of employees, and they recently adopted a new policy, probably about as long as this. We actually did required classes, and people come and break up into small groups, and they actually do have a quiz. Look through the policy, what paragraph in here deals with X topic. Probably that's unwieldy for the county, but roughly for what it's worth, roughly the same number of employees. But it was very well received by staff, and they, the company repeats that every few years. I agree. So that sort of thing, a little interactive approach to it worked out well. And I put that out there not as a suggestion, but just as a comment that there are ways you can make sure that people actually, at least some people actually pay attention to the thing.
Anything else?
For what it's worth, I would just say, having ample copies in the personnel office, HR office, and the executive office, people spend by there, is sufficient. In this age of the internet and social media, I think everyone's on notice to look at it, and it's always available if they want to look at it, and we really can't afford
No.
that additional expense.
Yeah.
And I would echo what Jim said, is that you guys did a great job, and in a very tedious and trying to put your arms around something that was nebulous, to say the least. So we applaud your efforts and all your extra work. And it's nice to see the county have a living, working document to charter all our HR issues.
Anything further? Pending motion is approval of the policy. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. The next item,
Thank you.
oh, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You guys.
The next item is actually old business, item 19004. We have a request that a motion for reconsideration be considered on the item that was passed in our December 10 meeting related to the probate judge's annual salary and compensation. And I think we have received a schedule of what would be required in order to reopen this item and then reconsider it. And so the first pending matter would be whether there is in fact, a motion to reconsider the commission agenda item 18071 as passed in our last meeting. Is there anyone making such motion?
I would move to reconsider the commission vote on agenda item 18-071 on December 10 regarding setting the annual salary of the probate judge.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. So this is debatable by the commission. Anyone who wishes to speak to this item?
Well,
See-
I would say we've had objections raised to some of the legality of the way we structured this before. I don't necessarily agree with the objection, but I'm happy to put this forward for the commission to, for the board to reconsider. And I would look for guidance from other commissioners about what action they would like to take on this.
Just so we're clear, the first action that would have to be taken is to pass this by a majority vote. At that point, if we did so, then the item would be back on the floor as if not yet passed. And the then pending motion would still be before us, but would be subject to any amendment that might be offered. So, any further discussion?
One of the issues that was raised, and it was unique, at least to this position, was having a potential set of factors that would qualify for a bonus from a flat salary. And so one point would be to eliminate the objectionable objectivity or subjectivity of a analysis of does a probate judge qualify for a bonus by just setting a flat salary. And given the basis of the discussion, I would be in favor of that, I believe.
Further discussion on this? So seeing none, call for a vote. The pending motion is the motion to reconsider the previous adopted motion that, as I indicated, would have the effect of putting it before the commission again as if not passed. So all those in favor of the motion to reconsider, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
It's 4-1, yes, and so the matter is now again before us. So the pending motion is a motion to establish the probate judge's salary for 2019 at $55,000 with an opportunity of up to a 20% performance incentive. The performance incentive, the commission will remember, specified a 20% factor for longevity, a 40% factor for docket management, and a 40% factor for judicial temperament, and that was the pending, that was the motion that was passed at that time. The motion established that the commission would, at the end of the calendar year, do that evaluation. So that's the pending motion, and it is subject now to anyone who wishes to propose an amendment.
Mr. Chair, I would move to amend the original motion to delete the 20% performance incentive and just base it on a set salary. And I open up to the other commissioners what that set salary should be, whether we stick with the 55 or pick a different number.
So if we can just understand this now, let's be sure that we do this in a way that it ends up being understandable. Perhaps we could call your motion a motion to delete the reference in that motion to a performance review.
That's fine.
Is there a second for that proposed amendment?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? I have this piece of discussion.
The word, yeah,
There is a,
it should read incentive, not bonus, right? Performance incentive.
right. That's the intent.
That's what it says.
Right.
I think it's a distinction without a difference in the end, because obviously the commission has the responsibility of setting the salary every year, and implicit in that is going to be whatever factors the commissioners believe are pertinent. So, you know, the regularization of it by specifying what the factors are, I thought was worth doing, but there is a substantial objection based on some somewhat pertinent legal authority, and so I don't have any great objection to avoiding whatever trouble that might create. That's kind of how I look at this particular amendment. And
So does this amendment, as it stands, if we vote in the affirmative on this, if we set the salary at 55,000, or do we need a further motion to do that?
the salary is set at 55,000 in the motion. If the incentive is,
Okay,
is deleted, that is subject to amendment, of course.
but I mean,
Absent further action, it would
okay,
be 55,000.
okay, all right, okay.
Further discussion? We'll call a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
4-1, motion carries. At this point, with the permission of the commission, I would invite Judge Aronson to speak on this issue if he would like, subject to our usual 3-minute requirement, but we'd be glad to hear from the judge if he has anything he'd like to.
In terms of what the base pays, what the pay.
Yeah, in the entire procedure, you know, I mean, whatever you want to say for 3 minutes is fine.
Well, I mean, well, first of all, I've been doing this for 2 weeks now. Commission, that I'm enjoying my job very much. It's very stimulating, there's a fabulous staff there, and I feel very good about it. And I think it's been seamless so far.
Right.
As I've indicated recently, before, I thought that the prior judge was, commission, this board could have been more generous to him based on the judges get and the amount of time and sophistication. My compatriot in York County, Judge Shabbat, gets 46,000. So that's 23, started at 44 a couple of years ago. I've also indicated that, you know, a Superior Court District Court judge gets $26,000 a day, under 29,000 plus. So the board has allocated $66,000, as I understand it, potentially, and so I would recommend that the board allocate that amount, the $66,000 that the board has allocated for this year as my salary. And I don't understand why there would be a 25% reduction from what Judge Nazziotti was receiving. I think that's unjustified, based upon my own experience as an attorney, 42 years practicing law, someone who's dealt with it.
Thank you. Discussion,
Can I ask a question?
yes, ma'am.
Well, for you, Judge. How many days a week are you in the office, you know, now?
I go in every day now.
Okay, so you work,
But I don't anticipate that that's going to continue. However, as I indicated to the deputy registrars, And I told the deputy register that if they need me to come in, I live in Scarborough, I'll drive in and sign the emergency request if they call me. And so I anticipate that it will be a solid 3 days. And that there should be litigation, which they asked Judge Mazzioni indicated that there are probably about 30 trials tested hearings a year. Will it increase or decrease? I don't know the answer to that question. The new law, which will be going into effect July 1st, is going to require alternative dispute resolution like in civil matters. So where that reduces things, it was Judge Mazziotti's practice to require people to know ADR, even though he probably didn't have the authority. But most cases are resolved by that method. And there are probably 30 contested matters. The return date is, so Tuesday, I go in to prepare for the return date on Wednesday. Return date, people come in every 20 minutes. Every case is allocated 20 minutes. And Thursday, if there are any other contested matters or other, there are a number of motions for summary judgment, which the lawyers can attest to can be quite voluminous at times. Those are just sitting there. Eventually, the deputy clerk is going to go over those with me so I can get up to speed and start working on those. They wanted to break me in easy. And, Judge Mazzioni left me with a few of them. So, but it's a good 3 days a week.
And how many, so what will the hours will be on those 3 days?
Well, I get in,
Is that like an 8 to 4 or 9 to 2?
The office opens at 8:30. I have a key. You know, 8:30 to 4 or whatever is required.
Okay, 8:30
I
to
don't
4.
take, I
Right.
was a DA for 8 years. I did my job.
Okay.
I worked weekends. I worked nights at times. I assigned people to be on call, so
Okay, yep.
I'll do the job. But I think it's a pretty solid 3 days a week.
So you're saying it's an 8-hour, to 9-hour day, 3 days a
Well,
week?
I'm gonna take lunch.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yes, it's
so it's an
it's
8-hour
8:30
day,
to
4:30, okay, yeah. So that's,
I know Judge Mazzioti didn't eat much, so I like it very much. I think it's healthy.
Anything else? Thanks, Judge. So further discussion on this item?
Yeah, here's I want to just quickly reflect something that you said.
Want me to stay for this?
I'm not going to ask a question, but feel free to have a seat. As you correctly pointed out, we are responsible for setting salary for the judge every year. My perspective on this is that we have a new person that we have not had an opportunity to see in action. And we have a constraint that I know we're not the employer, but I mean, other people, we are analogous to an employer, but other people, other employers have a tool that if an employee doesn't do well, we can terminate them or reduce their compensation or take appropriate action. That tool is not available to us. If we set it high and things don't work out, we have no way to ever reduce the compensation. So I'm looking at this as not anything personal about the particular judge, but just I'd like to have a chance to see what happens. Sure, and I'd be happy to have your.
If that's a question,
Oh, I get
then he can respond. Otherwise, we really can't go back and forth very
I
much.
just would like, because you're sitting between two lawyers who have known you for decades, literally, and they know the quality of my work. They know my commitment to my clients and to what I do, and my competence.
Sure.
And my expertise, so, you know, I'm not a Bob Nader, okay? I'm not even close to being Bob Nader, and if that was your concern, so.
It's not, I mean, this is not a specific concern, this is a sort of, this is a general concern. But thanks for your observation. And thank you for running for this office, too. This is not to denigrate anything, your record or your career, or what you're gonna do in the future. It's just, I need to look out for the taxpayers, and that's really my purpose here. And if all goes well, come back next year, we'll have a different discussion.
Thank you.
We've already voted on the motion, so,
So we are under consideration. We have a pending motion to set the salary at 55,000. It's subject to amendment unless,
I thought we voted on that already.
no, we voted to strike the incentive procedure.
And I thought that left us with 55,000, because
That's what
Yes, it
that's what it
does.
did.
Right.
It is subject to amendment, and we are now required to enact something. All right, it is not at this time enacted. So we,
Okay,
You voted to amend. You've amended it, now you get
It
the
has been
final vote to
enacted.
finalize it.
it has not yet been enacted. So
Okay, well,
if somebody wanted to propose a different figure than 55, this would be the moment.
Well-
Otherwise, we have to take a vote on what's pending.
not-
Any motions? Seeing none, we'll call the main motion then. The main motion is to set the salary at $55,000 for 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. Comments from the county manager?
Thank you. As the first speaker this evening, I just want to congratulate Commissioners Gordon, Cloutier, and Coward on their reelection to another term of the County Commissioners. And I'd like to extend that to Sheriff Joyce and welcome District Attorney Jonathan Sarbach and Probate Judge Paul Aronson to the ranks. Looking forward to a great next couple of years with you all. The only other thing that I have is February 25th, which is a Monday evening, which is our typical Monday night for a workshop. We will have a goal-setting exercise that evening, and we will have Craig Freshley, who facilitated the last goal-setting exercise 2 years ago when we met up in Pineland Farms. We're defining more information about this, but I at least want you to get it on your calendars that February 25th at 5 o'clock would be the start time for that. And that will be a process, probably take 3 hours that evening, 3.5 hours. Invite department heads and mid-managers in and have a good conversation on everything.
Monday, February 25th.
Yes,
I won't be here.
you won't be here? Okay.
Sorry.
And we're going to do it here?
Working out the particulars on where it will be. Most likely not here.
Okay.
So let me get
Bermuda
back to
a
you on a date.
Bermuda a possibility?
We could.
We go with you. We go with you.
Sure.
Okay.
Come on now.
March would be.
Actually, I do have one other item, and then while you were talking, I was thinking more about distributing that personnel policy. It is something that maybe, it does not govern union contract employees, and so when I said 400 employees, I may have overshot. I'll work with Alex and Don to see what we have for probably about 100, 150
Could say, I thought
non-union
that was
employees, that maybe this would be a manageable document, especially since when we reformat the document, it won't be 77 pages because we have a lot of strikeouts that will be removed. Maybe it is something that we can get some kind of sign-off list going for each employee. Now that I'm thinking of it, we take out the unions, we have a manageable number of distributions. So we will definitely explore that. It was a good point that was brought up. Thank you.
Executive staff, Alex?
Yes, maybe.
Yes, it is that point in time when I do actually have a bunch to talk about, so I'll try to keep it quick. First off, 2018 budget, we're just finalizing a lot of sort of the early returns now as bills from the prior year cycle in. Right now, I am cautiously optimistic we will end up in the black, but I'm still keeping that in the cautiously optimistic category. 2018, didn't really think I was going to go exact this early in the game. 2018 W-2s are out via email at this point in time. Much thanks to the finance staff for getting that out as early as pretty much ever. Those emails are password protected. If anyone needs the details on that, they can contact the finance staff. The hard copies are in the mail, should be arriving, if not over the weekend, in the next couple of days. Along with those W-2s, just one more reminder, and I know I've been a bit of a broken record on this, to employees to really, if they can, take a good early look at what their tax liability for 2018 is going to be. There was a lot of changes to the tax code. It could very easily have dramatically changed some employees' taxes for the year, whether they know it or not. If there's an issue, they should probably know it sooner rather than later. Moving on to 2019, the tax anticipation note was done last Wednesday, came in at a rate of 1.75%, which is about as low as we can go in this current climate. That's still a lot more than it was 2 or 3 years ago, but that has to do with their Federal Reserve rate. As long as short-term interest rates for the money that the interest we can earn on that remain relatively good, we should be okay and should be able to make budget with that. The key now is that the short-term rates remain okay for a while. Brings us to the next thing, 2019 budget. Manager and I have talked about this a little bit already. We're going to be keeping a very, very close eye on the start of 2019, in particular on the revenue side. Just not feeling quite as warm and fuzzy about the possibility of some of the revenues continuing as strongly in 2019 as they did in 18. So that's be something early on out of the gate we'll be paying attention to. Final.
What makes you suspicious?
Softening market, sales starting to decline a little bit, some numbers in November and December that were weaker than the rest of the year, and
We're talking about real estate?
yeah, and just a general vibe in the wind. Just a little of everything. No one thing, just a lot of stuff that gets the hairs tingling a little bit. Final piece of the puzzle. The payment from the state of Maine that we were expecting in mid-January due to the late legislative session, to all of our immense surprise, arrived on December 28th. And its full amount in the exact dollar amount as promised. So we have been made whole for the prior year and their obligation for the first part of this year. So
Excellent.
They did come through with
Great
that.
news.
Yep.
New administration, or is that just,
No, just for whatever reason, they freed it up faster than they said they would. We don't ask.
all right, good.
That's all.
Oh, I have,
Yes, sir.
Alex, what do we do with the tax anticipation note proceeds until we spend them? Do we
Yep.
invest them in something that recoups some of our interest? And
Absolutely. And what's interesting is we are currently in a climate where investing that in a money market or a short-term CD, but money markets and CDs tend to have such similar rates that it's better to go with the money market. We invest that right away, given that there is an actual interest amount that one can make on it. That is also a change from, say, 2010 through 2015, when the amount that we could make on the tax anticipation note was essentially zero. On the flip side, we were getting charged 0.25%, so it wasn't like, so the two tend to go hand in hand. The only real concern is if there is ever a point when one of these tax anticipation notes comes in with a very high rate, and then subsequently the markets for the money market accounts tanks. So the key will be to get it into something good and stable as quickly as possible.
Don?
Just a couple quick comments. I'm pleased to say that our January marks a new benefits year for employee benefits, and that went flawlessly this year, our open enrollment period. I want to commend the HR staff, Don Pesmani in particular, who did a magnificent job spearheading all of that enrollment and employee meetings and benefits fairs. That went very well this year. Early in the year, the focus is on some of the compliant training that we're required to do every year, particularly the annual notice of sexual harassment and other forms of illegal harassment in the workplace. We'll be going out to employees tomorrow. And this year, we are actually going to be scheduling in some live in-person trainers, which we haven't done here for a few years. So I think this is a good time to do it. Employees have requested it, and I think this is a good time to do that. And just continuing with our proactive approach and investing in our employees, where I'm working with some of the different departments on staff development and different forms of training. So it's busy, and we've got, it's exciting that people seem to be taking very well, receiving the training very positively. So thank you. And thank you for your support of the personnel policy, too. That's going to be very helpful to us.
Travis?
Yes, one thing. So the contractor that we hired with our CDBG award to do the broadband research study is beginning work now. The way that may affect you all is that they are scheduling individual meetings with staff at all of the communities in the county. So if you hear from municipal staff wondering what this is, people calling on behalf of the county, that's what it is. It's Sewell. And I'm going to attend as many of those meetings as I possibly can. The other part of that is that they're going to do a countywide survey to try and identify need and demand and interest at the constituent and business level. So as soon as that survey is prepared, we'll want to promote it as much as we possibly can. So I'll be looking for creative ways for us to get the word out. I'll probably follow up with you all individually once it's available.
Travis, when you come to my communities, would you let me know when they're going to meetings?
Absolutely, and I'll also mention I'm joining Commissioner Gordon later this week, meeting with the North Yarmouth Business Group. I'm happy to do that with any groups or community leaders that you're interested in having us talk to about what we're trying to do.
Barbara, anything?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Comments from commissioners? Commissioner Whitton?
Well, just a couple of things. I'd like to commend the staff, for the job on the personnel policy. I've been here almost 10 years, and it's nice to have something, solid. And I want to thank you, Travis, for the legislative gathering that we had. I think it was very well attended. And I hope, that you were pleased. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, I of course am going to be my worst critic, and I was not pleased with the turnout until I found out it was one of the better turnouts we've had. So I thought it went really well. The legislators seem very engaged. I'm excited about some of the bills that are in. We didn't get a chance to talk about the bill that Senator Woodsom has proposed in York County because Jim and I only got it a couple of days before that event, but that was one that I saw some heads nodding in the crowd about, this sense that we may be able to go to the state and say, what is a challenge for you to be doing that we could maybe do more efficiently? These kind of regional solutions that I think could be from the top down, not just the bottom up. It seemed like there was some enthusiasm about that, so I was pleased with it, and thank you all for coming and for mingling, and it seemed like the legislators got a lot of benefit out of it.
Okay, yeah. And with the other thing is that on the goal setting, if possible, could we skip the month of February? because that seems to be a conflict. I know Steve has a conflict, I have a conflict, but, you know, I can go around it. And how the staff will be there like before? Is it gonna be the same kind of setup that we had in Pineland?
Correct.
Okay. And that's all that I have. Oh, and congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I reiterate what Sue just said. If there's any possible way that it can change the meeting, I'd really like to attend it, because it does set us where we're headed. And I don't want to put a burden on the other commissioners. I mean, if they can't, they can't. I too would like to say thank you to Travis and actually to Jim too, because the meeting that we had with the legislators, I thought was very fruitful. People that I've talked to afterwards, and up in Augusta even, the comments are, there's a need there. We recognize that we've got to take a better look at what counties are doing, and that they do offer a possibility for regionalization of issues that we hadn't thought about that would be beneficial to the taxpayer, which I think we all are kind of looking at. The only other thing that I have that I will make mention of is, as we all know, there's this big shutdown that we have for the federal government. And there are a lot of local people that are in that, and I would reiterate or say to them, your food pantries are open. If on a temporary basis you're caught, don't be afraid to come to a food pantry and get assistance. It's there, it's for needs of people that have needs, and it certainly qualifies. I've seen people already that have come and have timidly asked if it would be appropriate. Don't worry about it. It's there, and yes, it is all right. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jameson?
Thank you, Jim. I would reiterate what Sue and Steve have said about the legislative breakfast that Travis and Jim and the executive staff put together. I thought it was a very informative event. It was very helpful to be able to interact with the county legislators, and I think there is both a lot of room for collaboration across the aisle, as well as there is for making county government, specifically Cumberland County government, an economic engine for the state and for other municipalities. We have lots of opportunities, and we appreciate, Travis, all your work to highlight them, as you did during the meeting. Since our last meeting, I think it was the same week as our last meeting, we had Cumberland County sponsored a retirement event for Judge Joe Mazziotti, probate judge for the last 14 years, and commissioner for another 12 prior to that. Joe did a great job as a judge. It was a great tribute to his service. We had a number of speakers. He was, as always, very gracious for the event, but it was a great event to honor his service to the county and to the citizens of the county in promoting justice and helping families out as the probate judge does. So that was, it was a great county event. I appreciate all the efforts of Nadine Daniels and all the other people that pulled that together. This is, we've hit the, seems like midwinter temperatures, but look out for your neighbors who may be elderly or may be shut-ins, and check on them in these very cold times and potentially snowy times, because winter is not coming. Winter is here. We're in the throes of it. In addition to that, all young people are in the throes of their sporting events. So our shout out to all the student athletes out there who are involved in high school athletics and activities, and to the families and parents who are supporting them through their particular seasons. Thank you.
Commissioner Cowan?
Yes, thank you. Also, I'll echo what everyone else has already said, but about the legislative breakfast, which I thought was very nicely put together, and the food was good, and the location was good, and aside from the attendance, which was better than it's been, this is one where the legislators interact. I mean, we had a discussion going. It wasn't just question and answer. It was the different legislators talking to each other, and in a sort of a large group discussion, which is my recollection is that's the first time that's happened at one of these things. So I thought the atmosphere of this was really, really good, and I think we had a lot of positive energy coming out of it, and I think probably I noticed a few, coalitions starting to form, links between the different people who were there. So I thought it was very, 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 very positive, and really a tribute to our staff who set this thing up. And I thought it was done very well. The Maine County Commissioners had its annual general meeting last week. Steve and I were there. I can report that, and then afterwards, the executive staff met with the Maine Sheriff's Association to talk about legislative issues, which was useful, and there's several discussions ongoing from that. I gave a little talk at the beginning. I was feeling a little bit under the weather, so I apologize to Steve for my somewhat disjointed remarks. I tried to stress that the benefit of the Maine County Commissioners Association for all counties, including Cumberland County, is that there are a lot of issues that county government deals with across the state that we have a lot of common interests that need to be addressed, and we are able to much more effectively address them as a group than individually. I also one of my themes as president of the MCCA is that counties are very diverse. They have diverse interests. We need to pull together where necessary, but we also need the freedom to do what we need to do. And one of the sort of mirror images of that is that counties need to be able to let other counties, not stand in the way of other counties getting what they need to do. So those two themes, there's a bit of a tension between them, and that is starting to come through at the MCCA. Between sometimes it's surprising groups of counties that have the same issue, not necessarily demographically or geographically related counties, but counties that just, it's partly a function of leadership and partly a function of just history and so forth. But we're starting a discussion, and in fact, I'm going to be appointing a committee at the MCCA to look at the funding mechanism, which is essentially that all counties contribute the same to the budget. The problem is, the MCCA needs to have the resources, I think, to expand their operations. And the problem that is developing is that some of the smaller counties, we pay the same as everybody else. But for us, what we pay to the MCCA is a rounding error in our budget. For other counties, adding $500 to their annual contribution is a big lift. And a lot of commissioners are not happy with doing that. So we're going to have a committee to look into how we address the funding needs for MCCA going forward. And there's a lot of, I don't have I said at the meeting, I don't have a preferred or set or even a particular goal in mind for this, but I want some ideas because we're strangling right now financially. And we're going to have to address that, or else the MCCA is going to stop being effective for everybody. And so I'll be bringing those discussions down to this body as they progress. But that's something we're going to be working on in the next several months to try to come to some sort of a consensus of a way that we can raise more revenue that doesn't involve county bake sales or something like that, which I'm not really interested in doing. So that's a developing thing that will continue on. I'll keep you posted on what happens. So so Thank you very much.
Okay. I join everybody else's thinking about the legislative breakfast being a success. The thing that I noticed, which had, in my memory, which stretches back to about, I don't know, 12 or 14 of these at this point, there had never been a time when there really was the...
12 or 14.
Something like that. And always in the same room. But, exit 8 became exit 48, and we didn't move an inch. But
Now it's in seasons.
the thing that I noticed, and it was pretty widespread, was that all the work that Commissioner Coward has done, that Travis had done, that his predecessor had done, that the sheriff had done, related to counties, and county jails, funding, controversy surrounding that, had really seemed to have sunk in. And the legislators who didn't have that as in their wheelhouse in their committee work still were very interested in the details. They were aware that there was a multifaceted issue that they didn't quite understand, and they wanted a lot of information. And they really generated a lot of interest in that, and they wanted to talk about bail, and they wanted to talk about the composition of the inmate population at the jail, and the funding, what the costs were, what the alternative costs were, what the incarceration rates looked like. So they were, and this was, people that are on the taxation committee, they're not going to deal with that directly anytime in the next 6 months while they're doing their legislative work. So I thought it was, I thought the approach to it was intelligent and well concentrated, and they seemed genuinely interested. And there were a bunch of other issues. I was told that, for instance, the local option tax, which I had spent the last 20 years assuming was a dead issue anytime you wanted to bring it up, that in fact the taxation committee had supported that, and they were planning on trying it again this year, and they thought there was a chance that some kind of a local option was going to be passed out of the legislature this year. So all in all, there was a lot going on. It seemed like there was a lot of ferment, and there was a lot of kind of forward progress in among people that had some experience in Augusta over the years. They felt like these issues had been talked about enough, and it was getting much closer to action time. So I thought that was I was surprised by that, actually. So that was great. We do have a new administration in Augusta. We have a new legislature in session, so we have our activities for daily daily work to do well sketched out for us for the next few months. And one of the great issues seems to be where we have kind of ended up ourselves, the broadband issue. My family is rooting for any kind of competition that might exist from the tyranny of the cable bill they receive each month. And so, I don't know how close we'll ever be to that, but they've tried to get me to explain it more than once, and of course, half an hour later, I still haven't said anything that makes any sense. But that is really a big priority and a worthy one, and we'll see how that goes. Our next meeting is February 11th in this room again. I don't remember if we have a workshop scheduled for a couple of weeks from now. I don't think we do. Looks like we're going to be doing something other than strategic planning at workshop time in February, if we do anything on that date. So we'll get that figured out and be back in touch. That having been said, that concludes our meeting. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.